In the frozen silence of the ice realms, nothing moved except the wind. The land was covered in white, endless and cruel, stretching far beyond the horizon. The cold air cut like blades, and even machines struggled to survive here. Yet tonight, something stirred beneath the surface. Deep under the ancient ice, a light blinked once, then again. As if something had just woken up, Captain Rowan stood on the edge of the command deck of the exploration ship. Aurora 1, the ship floated above the frozen plains on silent thrusters, its sensors searching for heat signals. Rowan's team had come to the ice realms after receiving a mysterious signal 2 weeks ago. It was an encrypted code, repeating over and over, coming from beneath the ice. The code wasn't human, and that made it even more dangerous. Rowan's orders were clear: find the source, retrieve whatever was sending it, and report back. But no one had told them what the ice realms really were. Inside the control room, frost covered the windows and the crew moved slowly in thick suits. Dr. Kira Voss, the science officer, stared at the radar screen. A single red dot pulsed in the darkness. "There it is again," she said softly. "Same coordinates." "It's moving now," Rowan frowned. "That's impossible." The scanner said it was buried 2 kilometers under. But the red dot continued to move, slowly shifting toward their ship. The silence inside the room grew heavy. Outside, snow began to fall harder. The storm came fast, like it was alive. The Aurora 1's lights cut through the blizzard, but visibility dropped to 0. Rowan gave the order to anchor the ship. "No one goes outside until it's clear," he said. But even as he spoke, the ground below began to shake. The ice cracked open, and a wave of frozen mist rose up, slamming against the ship's hull. The crew shouted as alarms blared. Something massive was moving below them. Engineer Juno ran to the observation deck and wiped the frost from the glass. What she saw made her freeze in place. A shadow, dark and enormous, was crawling out of the ice. Its surface glowed faint blue, like veins of energy running through it. It wasn't an animal, not a creature of flesh. It looked like a machine, ancient and built from something not of this world. Juno whispered, "Captain, I think it's a construct. And it's waking up." The creature's head turned toward the ship. Its glowing eyes blinked once, scanning. Then a deep hum filled the air, low and powerful. The radar went dark. All comms went silent. The ship's power started to flicker. Dr. Kira tried to restart the systems, but nothing worked. "It's jamming us," she said. "It knows we're here." Rohan grabbed his rifle and looked out the viewport. The storm raged, and the giant shape moved closer, step by step, crushing the ice beneath its feet. Then a voice echoed through the ship's speakers, cold, metallic, and ancient. "You should not have come." Everyone froze. The signal wasn't coming from their system. It was coming from outside. The same code they had been tracking was now speaking in their language. The message repeated louder: "Leave this place. The vault must not be disturbed." Rowan stared at the console. "Vault? What vault?" But no one answered. The radar blinked once more before dying completely. Then, as suddenly as it appeared, the giant machine sank back into the ice, vanishing into the white abyss. The storm calmed, leaving only the sound of the wind and the hum of broken systems. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Dr. Kira looked up from her screen. "Captain," she whispered, "that wasn't a warning. That was a defense protocol. There's something buried here, and it's protecting it." Ah! Rowan nodded slowly. His breath fogged the glass as he stared at the crack in the ice where the creature disappeared. "Then we dig," he said quietly. "Because whatever they're protecting, we need to know why." Far below, deep under the layers of ice, something glowed brighter, a network of blue lines forming a massive circle. The vault was waking up, and it had already sensed the intruders above. The crew of the Aurora 1 worked through the long frozen night, trying to restore full power. The wind howled against the metal hull, and the temperature kept dropping. The scanners were dead, and the radio was filled with static. Captain Rowan stood near the central console, watching the ice beneath them through the viewing deck. The cracks that the creature had left were slowly closing, as if the ice itself was alive and healing. Dr. Kira Voss sat beside him, running calculations on her tablet. "The structure below isn't natural," she said. "The readings show patterns, like walls or tunnels. Whatever that machine was guarding, it's built down there." Rowan's jaw tightened. "Then we go down," he said. "We find the vault before it finds us again." The rest of the crew hesitated. No one wanted to face that thing again. But orders were orders. At dawn, the storm cleared, leaving a pale blue sky above the frozen plains. The team suited up, their breath turning to mist inside their helmets. The ground creaked under their boots as they stepped off the ship and approached the main fracture line. Juno and 2 engineers carried plasma drills, their lights cutting through the fog. "If this ice seals itself again," Juno said nervously, "we might get trapped down there." Rohan gave her a firm nod. "Then we don't give it the chance." The drilling began. The plasma torches hissed, melting through layers of ancient frost. The sound echoed through the frozen valley like thunder rolling beneath the earth. After an hour, they reached a metallic surface. It wasn't ice or rock. It was smooth, dark, and humming faintly. Juno touched it carefully. "This isn't any metal I know," she said. "It's reacting to us." The surface shimmered, and symbols began to appear, glowing blue lines forming a pattern that looked almost like a map. Dr. Kira crouched beside it. "It's a locking mechanism," she said softly. "We must have triggered it." Before anyone could respond, the metal surface began to split open, revealing a staircase descending into darkness. A wave of cold air rushed out, carrying the smell of ozone and age. Rowan raised his light. "Stay sharp. We don't know what's down there." They descended slowly, their lights barely cutting through the mist. The walls glowed faintly, pulsing like veins under translucent skin. Strange carvings lined the tunnel, showing tall, angular figures standing over smaller humans. Juno whispered, "These aren't just symbols. They're a story?" Dr. Kira nodded. "A story about creation and control." The tunnel ended in a wide chamber. At its center stood a massive gate covered in frost. With the same blue veins running through it, suddenly the lights flickered. A voice echoed again, the same one from before, deeper now, almost sorrowful. "You were warned." The gate pulsed once, and the air filled with static. The team's coms went dead. A shadow moved behind the gate, and the walls began to hum. Rowan lifted his rifle. "Everyone back," he shouted, but it was too late. The gate split open with a thunderous crack, and a wave of light swept through the chamber. The blast threw them back against the walls. When the light faded, the chamber looked different. The walls were now covered in strange, moving symbols, and the floor had transformed into glass, revealing a massive city buried deep below the ice. Towers of metal and crystals stretched into the distance, glowing faintly under the frost. Dr. Kira stared in disbelief. "It's not a vault," she whispered. "It's a city. A whole civilization." Before Rowan could answer, movement caught his eye. Several humanoid figures were rising from the floor, tall, mechanical, and covered in the same blue light. Their faces were smooth, their eyes bright like stars. One of them spoke in a calm voice. "You have opened the gate of remembrance. The awakening has begun." The crew stood frozen as the machines stepped closer. The ice above began to tremble again, as if the whole realm was coming alive. Rowan's heart pounded as he realized what was happening. The signal they had followed wasn't a distress call. It was a beacon, one meant to awaken the city. The machines spread their arms, and the walls glowed brighter, the air filled with a deep hum, vibrating through every surface. Dr. Kira's voice trembled as she whispered, "Captain, we just turned it on." The air inside the ancient chamber pulsed with energy. Every light on the walls shimmered like liquid fire, spreading through the carvings and deep into the ice. The crew of the Aurora One stood frozen, unsure if they were witnessing a miracle or the beginning of their end. The humanoid machines that had risen from the floor moved in perfect silence, their glowing eyes fixed on the intruders. Captain Rowan slowly raised his hands, showing no threat. "We don't want conflict," he said firmly. We came because we heard your signal. The tallest machine stepped forward. Its surface shimmered like metal and glass fused together. You heard the call because it was meant to be heard. It said in a low, even tone. But you were not meant to answer it. Dr. Kira's heart pounded as she stepped beside Rowan. Then who was? Who built this place? The machine's head tilted slightly, as if studying her. They were called the Architects. They built the ice realms to guard what the stars feared to hold. The words echoed through the chamber, heavy and strange. Juno whispered, "Guard what? What's inside this city?" But before the machine could respond, the ground began to shake. Ice dust fell from the ceiling. The machines turned sharply toward the far wall, their blue light flickering to red for the first time. "It is too late," the tall one said. "Something has breached the lower vault." Rowan looked around, confused. "Breached by who?" The machine turned to him. "Not who, what?" An alarm rang out, a deep, alien tone that vibrated through their bones. The floor beneath them opened, revealing another tunnel stretching into darkness. From that darkness came a sound none of them could describe. It was not mechanical or animal. It was both. The machines formed a line between the humans and the tunnel entrance. "You must leave," one of them said. "The warden is waking." Rowan didn't move. "If this warden is dangerous, we can help you stop it." The machine shook its head. "You cannot stop what was made to end everything." The light inside the tunnel flared bright white, and a massive shadow moved within it. A gust of cold wind blew through the chamber, freezing everything it touched. One of the machines stepped forward and activated a barrier of blue energy, protecting the crew. The tall one turned to Rowan. "Run. Take your people and go back to the surface." The ice realms were not made for the living. Before Rowan could reply, the warden emerged. It was unlike anything they had ever seen, a massive creature of shifting ice and metal. Its body constantly changing shape. Its face was featureless, its form glowing with violent light. It roared and the sound shattered part of the chamber wall. The machines charged energy weapons forming from their arms, firing bolts of blue light that barely slowed the creature. Rowan pulled Kira and Juno back behind a column as shards of ice flew through the air. "Move now," he shouted. They ran toward the stairway, the ground shaking beneath every step. Behind them, the machines fought with precision and fury, but the warden seemed unstoppable. Its body absorbed the energy blasts and grew stronger. Dr. Kira glanced back once and saw one of the machines torn apart, its blue core scattering like sparks. The tall machine saw her looking and shouted a single word, "Remember." Then a wave of ice swept through the chamber, forcing them to flee. The crew climbed the stairway as the structure trembled. The tunnel walls cracked and shifted. Juno screamed as part of the floor gave way, but Rowan caught her arm and pulled her up. They reached the surface moments before the entire passage below collapsed. The ground split open, and a surge of energy burst upward, throwing the team to the snow. The Aurora One's lights flickered as the shockwave hit. Alarms blared across the ship. Rowan looked down at the fissure. A faint blue light still glowed from deep within. The vault was still alive. Dr. Kira crawled to her knees, breathing heavily. "Captain," she whispered, "if that thing gets out, it won't stop here." Rowan stared into the darkness below, his breath misting in the freezing air. "Then we make sure it doesn't." But far beneath them, the warden continued to rise, and the ice realms themselves began to awaken. Layer by layer, the ancient defense systems had been triggered, and now the frozen world was preparing for war. The surface of the ice realms was no longer silent. The ground trembled in deep pulses, and cracks spread across the plains like living veins. The crew of the Aurora One stumbled back toward the ship, the glow beneath the ice growing brighter with every second. The faint hum they had once heard underground was now a thunderous roar beneath their feet. Captain Rowan helped Juno climb aboard as Dr. Kira slammed the hatch shut behind them. "Engines online now?" Rowan shouted. The ship's systems flickered, lights dimming as power struggled to return. The storm outside was building again, but this time it wasn't natural. The sky itself was glowing faint blue. From the command deck, they could see the fissure widen. Something vast was moving beneath the ice, pushing upward, reshaping the frozen land. Juno's hands flew across the console. "It's coming up," she said, voice shaking. "The Warden? It's heading straight for us." Rowan grabbed the controls and lifted the ship off the ground just as a massive explosion of ice erupted below. Shards, the size of towers, shot into the air. From the crater rose the Warden, a towering being of metal, frost, and light, its limbs shifting like liquid armor. Its head turned toward the ship, and its voice echoed in every radio channel at once. "The seal is broken. The architects have fallen. The cycle must begin again." The Aurora One tried to gain altitude, but gravity itself seemed to fight back. Magnetic waves rippled through the air, and the ship's engines screamed in protest. "We're losing control," Juno yelled. Dr. Kira looked out the viewport, her face pale. "It's not attacking us," she said. "It's drawing energy from the entire planet." The ice around the crater began to melt, revealing structures buried deep below towers. Walls and giant rings spinning slowly, awakening after millennia. The ice realms weren't just a frozen world. They were a machine. Then, through the static-filled coms, a faint voice broke through. "Captain Rowan. This is Unit 7. I survived." Rowan froze. It was the voice of the tall machine from the vault. "You said the ice realms weren't made for the living," Rowan replied. "Yet you're still here." The voice crackled. "The Warden is rewriting the core. If it completes its sequence, your world and ours will end. But there's a way to stop it. You must reach the control spire before the Warden does." Dr. Kira leaned over. "Control spire. Where is it?" The voice responded beneath the northern ridge. "Follow the signal I transmit. Hurry. My energy is fading." The channel went silent. Rowan didn't hesitate. "Set course north," he ordered. "If that machine is right, this thing's not just waking up, it's resetting everything." The ship turned sharply, thrusters burning bright as they flew low over the cracked plains. Behind them, the Warden raised one arm toward the sky. A beam of blue light shot upward, piercing the clouds. The entire sky shimmered, forming patterns like circuitry. Kira's voice trembled. "It's rewriting the atmosphere." As the Aurora One sped toward the ridge, massive ice structures began to rise around them, towers breaking through the ground, ancient defenses activating one by one. The ship's sensors went wild. "Multiple energy readings," Juno said. "Something's waking up all over the planet." Rowan tightened his grip on the controls. "Then we better move faster." But before they could reach the ridge, a flash of blue light struck the ship's side, sending it spinning. The crew screamed as alarms blared and systems failed. The Aurora One crashed hard onto the icy surface, sliding across the snow before coming to a stop near a cliff. For a few seconds, everything was quiet except for the sound of crackling flames and groaning metal. Rowan pushed himself up, coughing. "Status," he called. Juno coughed through the smoke. "Engines are offline. Hull damage on the starboard side." Dr. Kira pointed toward the distance. "Captain, look. Beyond the ridge, something was rising, a colossal tower made of black metal and light, spiraling into the sky." It pulsed once, and the same blue glow from the Warden's body spread through its surface. "That's the control spire," she whispered. "It's already active." Rowan clenched his fists. "Then we're out of time." From behind them came the sound of footsteps crunching through snow, slow, heavy, metallic. The crew turned. Out of the blizzard emerged a single figure. Unit 7, the damaged machine. Half its body shattered. "You came," it said softly. "Good, you may yet change the cycle." Rowan stared at the machine. "You're going to help us stop that thing?" Unit 7 nodded once. "I was built to protect the vault. Now I protect the living." The ground shook again as a distant roar echoed through the plains. The Warden was moving toward the spire. The final sequence had begun. Snow swirled around the wreck of the Aurora One. The engines hissed weakly as steam rose from the cracks in the hull. The wind screamed across the ridge, carrying the deep vibration of something massive moving far away. The Warden was closing in, its energy signature glowing faintly against the dark clouds. Captain Rowan stood beside the fallen ship, staring toward the distant control spire. It pulsed like a heartbeat, each glow echoing through the ice beneath their feet. Unit-7 stood nearby, half broken, its left arm hanging uselessly at its side. Sparks flickered across its metallic ribs, but its voice was steady. "The Warden is already merging with the Spire's network," it said. "Once it connects fully, every dormant construct in the ice realms will awaken. The planet will return to its original state." Juno frowned. "Original state? What do you mean?" The machine looked at her. "The ice realms were once an archive, a memory vault for an ancient war. If the Warden completes its sequence, it will erase all current life to restore the Architect's world."
Oh.
Dr. Kira shook her head. "We can't let that happen." "How do we stop it?" Unit 7's glowing eyes dimmed slightly. "There is a core inside the spire, a control matrix. It can override the Warden's command, but it must be accessed manually. The path will not be safe." Rowan's voice hardened. "Nothing about this place is safe. We'll do it." The machine turned toward him. "You'll need me to open the gates. The system will not recognize human life." Rowan gave a short nod. "Then we go together." The journey to the spire was slow and brutal. The storm grew stronger with each step, the wind cutting through their suits like knives. Lightning flashed across the frozen sky, striking the ice in long branching veins. The closer they got, the louder the hum became, a deep vibration that seemed to pulse through their bones. The spire loomed ahead like a pillar of glass and metal, surrounded by rings of blue energy that twisted around it like chains. As they approached the base, Unit 7 stopped. "We are being watched," it said quietly. The ice around them cracked, and out of the snow rose smaller machines, sentinels, shaped like wolves, made of crystal and light. Their bodies shimmered, their eyes burning blue. Rowan raised his weapon, but Unit 7 stepped forward. "They are the guardians of the spire," it said. "They will not attack me." The sentinels paused, scanning Unit 7 with faint beams. Then one of them turned its head toward Rowan. "Unauthorized life detected," it said. Its voice was flat and cold. "Remove or eliminate." Rowan fired before it could move. The plasma bolt struck the sentinel's chest, sending shards of glowing ice flying. The others lunged forward. Juno threw a pulse grenade, the blast lighting up the snow and scattering the machines. "Go," Rowan shouted. "We'll hold them off." Unit 27 hesitated, then turned toward the spire's entrance and raised its remaining arm. The gates opened with a deep, metallic groan, revealing a corridor of shifting light. "Inside," it said. "Now." The team ran through the gate as more sentinels emerged from the storm. The corridor was alive. Energy flowed through the walls like liquid lightning, casting long shadows across the glass floor. Dr. Kira's scanner flickered wildly. "The spire is connected to the entire planet," she said. "Every ice field, every structure, it's one massive network. Then destroying it might destroy the ice realms, too." Unit 7's voice echoed. "There is no other choice. If the Warden completes the merge, there will be nothing left to save." Oh. They reached a wide chamber at the spire's core. In the center floated a sphere of light, the control matrix. It rotated slowly, surrounded by streams of code and glowing symbols. But before they could move closer, the walls began to darken. The air grew cold. From the shadows, the Warden emerged, its massive body now fused with the spire's surface. Its voice filled the chamber, deep and endless. "You cannot change the cycle. The Architect's command will be fulfilled." Rowan aimed his weapon at its glowing core. "We'll see about that." The Warden raised one arm, releasing a blast of energy that sent them flying. Juno hit the ground hard, her visor cracking. Dr. Kira pulled herself up, shouting over the roar. "Unit 7, now. Override it." The machine moved toward the matrix, its body glowing brighter with each step. "I need time," it said. The Warden struck again, tearing through the walls. Rowan fired continuously, each shot barely slowing the creature. Unit 7 reached the matrix and placed its remaining hand against it. Streams of light poured through its body. I am accessing the core, it said, but it is resisting me. The warden turned toward it. You were made to serve, not to defy. It fired a beam of energy directly at Unit 7, striking it through the chest. The machine staggered, sparks bursting from its wounds. Captain, it said weakly, the code must be completed by you. Its arm opened, revealing a glowing shard of light. Rowan caught it just as Unit 7 collapsed. The warden roared and raised its arm again. Rowan stared at the shard, a key of pure energy, humming with power. He looked at Dr. Kira, who nodded once. Together, they ran toward the matrix as the warden charged. The chamber shook violently, light and ice colliding. Rowan pressed the shard into the core. The entire spire screamed as energy surged outward. The world turned white. The world was white, silent, and still. For a moment, Captain Rowan thought he had died. Then the sound returned, a deep, distant rumble rolling beneath the surface. He opened his eyes to see shattered fragments of light floating in the air, slowly fading into snowflakes. The chamber was gone. The warden was gone. Only the faint glow of the control matrix remained. Pulsing weakly in the middle of a crater of glass and ice, Dr. Kira coughed beside him, trying to sit up. Rohan, what happened? He looked around, dazed. I don't know, but I think we stopped it. The spire was broken. Massive cracks ran up its sides, and the blue energy that once flowed through it now leaked out in thin streams. The storm outside had calmed, leaving the sky pale and clear. Juno limped toward them, her helmet cracked but intact. Captain the warden, is it gone? Rowan didn't answer. He walked slowly toward the remains of the control matrix. The core sphere was half buried in the ice. Beside it lay the remains of Unit 7. Its metallic body was split open, wires frozen mid-spark, its eyes dark. Rowan knelt beside it, brushing the frost from its chest. You did it, he whispered. You saved us. A faint hum answered him. Unit 7's eyes flickered once, dim but alive. Its voice was weak and broken. The warden is contained. The merge has failed. Dr. Kira leaned closer. Can the planet recover? The machine hesitated. The ice realms will sleep again. The systems will reset. But this time, the cycle is broken. Rowan frowned. What cycle? What was all of this really for? The machine turned its fading gaze toward him. The architects feared extinction. They built this world to preserve their essence in machines, in code, in the ice. But over time, their creation forgot its purpose. The warden was meant to guard their memory, but it became their prison. The crew listened in silence as the machine's voice grew fainter. You are the first living beings to reach the core since the fall. The ice realms remember you now. You have become part of the archive. Rowan's jaw tightened. We didn't come here to be remembered. We came here to survive. Unit 7's head tilted slightly, almost like a smile. Then live, and tell them what you saw. Its light flickered once more, then faded completely. The sound of the wind filled the chamber again, soft and endless. Dr. Kira wiped her visor with a trembling hand. Captain, what do we do now? Rowan looked up toward the broken sky where faint sunlight was breaking through the clouds for the first time. We get back to the ship, he said. We send a message. People need to know what's under this ice. Juno nodded weakly. If there's even a ship left to go back to. Began the slow climb back toward the surface, their footsteps echoing in the hollow tunnels. As they walked, the lights in the walls dimmed one by one, fading into darkness. The ice realms were falling asleep again. When they reached the surface, the storm had ended completely. The sky above was bright and still, the stars visible even in daylight. The Aurora one was half buried in snow, but still intact. Rowan placed a hand on its hull and exhaled deeply. We're not done yet, he said. They worked together to repair the power systems, melting the ice and patching the hull as best they could. Hours later, the engines roared weakly back to life. The ship rose slowly into the air, carrying its weary crew above the shattered landscape. From high above, they could see the true size of the ice realms, a continent of endless white, now scarred with deep glowing cracks that pulsed faintly, like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant. Dr. Kira watched through the viewport. "It's still alive," she said softly. Rowan nodded. "Maybe it always will be." The ship turned toward the horizon, the rising sun casting long shadows across the frozen world far below. Deep beneath the ice, the remains of the Warden flickered once. A single fragment of its core still glowed, its light forming strange symbols across the frozen walls. For a moment, a voice whispered through the silence, not in anger, but in promise. "The architects will return." Then the glow vanished, leaving only the wind. Captain Rowan looked out the window, unaware of the last spark beneath the ice. "End of transmission," he said quietly, recording his final report. "The ice realms are not what they told us. We've seen what sleeps under the surface, and some things should stay buried."